If anyone other than authorized personnel is hearing this, containment has already been breached. My name is Dr. Elias Mercer, lead researcher for Project Echelon. For the last 17 years, my colleagues and I have been working towards a singular objective: the elimination of biological death. Not life extension, not slowed aging, death. We intend to make it medically irrelevant. Tonight, we begin human trials. Our subject is a 34-year-old male, physically healthy, no significant medical history, no surviving family members. He was informed of every known risk associated with the procedure, including neurological damage, organ failure, psychosis, seizures, and permanent loss of motor function. He signed the consent forms willingly. He was smiling when they brought him downstairs. I remember that. He asked me if he was going to be famous. I told him that if this works, everyone will be. At 2:41, the subject was sedated and secured to the operating table. At 2:52, his baseline vitals were recorded. Heart rate, 72. Blood oxygen, 99%. Brain activity, normal. At 2:57, I administered 12 milliliters of the Echelon compound through the carotid line. The serum entered circulation almost immediately. For approximately 4 minutes, there was no observable reaction. Then, his heart rate began to fall. 70, 62, 48. At 3:04, he experienced cardiac arrest. We initiated resuscitation. Nothing. At 3:06, the subject was officially pronounced dead. That should have been the end of the procedure. Instead, at 3:08, his heart started beating again. No compressions, no electrical stimulation, no medication. It simply started on its own. His heart rate climbed from 0 to 31 beats per minute, then 40, then 56. His oxygen saturation returned to 94%. His pupils constricted. And then, he opened his eyes. At first, I thought he was conscious. I spoke his name. He didn't respond. I asked him if he could hear me. Nothing. His eyes remained fixed on the ceiling. I checked his pupils again. Normal reaction. I checked his motor responses. Nothing. No withdrawal from pain. No response to verbal commands. But his vitals continued improving. 310. Heart rate 68. 311. 74. 312, 79. By 313, every major organ system was functioning within normal parameters, except for the brain. His cortical activity is strange. It's there, but it's almost entirely disorganized. The neural patterns don't resemble consciousness. They resemble... No, that's premature. I'll refrain from speculation until we have imaging. One moment. That was the observation room door. It's locked. Subject 1 is still restrained. I can see him through the glass. He's looking at me now. I don't know how he knows where I am. The observation window is one way. He shouldn't be able to see me. He's still looking. No movement, no blinking. Just watching. This is Dr. Elias Mercer. 3:14 a.m. The first human trial of Project Echelon has been successful. Subject 1 is alive. At least, I believe he is. Audio log 002. It's been approximately 6 hours since Subject 1 was revived. I haven't slept. None of us have. The preliminary results are extraordinary. His cells are repairing themselves at a rate we've never observed in any previous trial. The lacerations caused by the IV insertion are already gone. His bruising has disappeared. There's no inflammation, no infection, no cellular rejection, nothing. His body is behaving as if injury itself is no longer a meaningful concept. We've conducted several neurological tests. The results are less encouraging. Subject 1 remains unresponsive to verbal commands. He doesn't recognize his name. He doesn't follow objects. He doesn't react to pain. But he does react to movement. That distinction is becoming important. When someone enters the room, his eyes follow them. When someone leaves, he continues watching the doorway. He's particularly responsive to fast movement. We initially assumed this was an involuntary reflex. I'm not so convinced anymore. At 8:17, Nurse Halpern entered the observation chamber to collect blood. Subject 1's heart rate increased by 20 beats per minute the moment she approached him. Nothing else changed. At first we assumed it was fear. Then she cut herself. It was an accident, a very small cut, less than a centimeter. But the moment Subject 1 saw the blood, his behavior changed. He pulled against the restraints, hard. The left wrist restraint nearly broke. We increased the sedation. It had no effect on him. That was when I realized something. He wasn't looking at Nurse Halpern. He was looking at her hand. More specifically, the wound. We removed him from the chamber and administered another sedative. His pulse remained elevated for nearly 40 minutes. I've instructed the staff to cover all open wounds before entering the observation chamber. There's another issue. His body temperature is 31 degrees Celsius. That's approximately 7 degrees below normal human temperature. Yet, there are no signs of hypothermia. His organs continue functioning. His blood is circulating. His cells are metabolizing. We don't understand how. I'm going to say something that I wouldn't normally put into an official report. Subject 1 looks dead. Not sick, not injured. Dead. His skin has become noticeably pale over the last few hours. His lips have developed a slight gray coloration. And his eyes. His eyes are becoming cloudy. But somehow he's alive. His heart is beating. His lungs are functioning. His cells are regenerating. Everything we've ever learned about the human body says those things shouldn't coexist. I've spent my entire career trying to create something that cannot die. I may have succeeded. The question is whether we created something that can still live. Audio log 003. We have a problem. Subject 1 hasn't eaten in approximately 36 hours. We've tried everything: nutritional supplements, water, electrolytes, soft foods, nothing. He doesn't appear to experience hunger in any conventional sense, but he is reacting strongly to blood. At 23:42, we conducted another blood draw. We were attempting to determine whether the Echelon compound had altered his metabolism. The moment the vial was opened, Subject 1 became agitated. His restraints were secured with 4-inch steel bolts. He pulled one of them halfway out of the wall. He's stronger, significantly stronger. We've run the numbers. His muscle fibers have increased in density by approximately 38% since yesterday. That's impossible. Muscle doesn't regenerate that quickly, and certainly not without nutrition. His body is getting energy from somewhere. We don't know where. At 0011, Dr. Patel suggested we provide him with animal tissue. I objected. The ethics committee was already uneasy about the procedure. But we need to know what his metabolism is doing. So we brought in a sealed container containing approximately 2 pounds of raw beef. Subject 1 showed no reaction. We warmed the meat to approximately 37 degrees Celsius. That's when he moved. He stood up. For the first time since his revival, Subject 1 stood without assistance. He pulled against the restraints until the bolt screamed against the wall. Then he began striking his head against the containment glass. Once, twice, 3 times. He wasn't trying to escape. He was trying to reach the meat. We removed it immediately. His behavior then stopped. We conducted another test. This time, we brought in a sample of fresh blood. Subject 1 became violent. I don't mean agitated, I mean violent. He threw himself against the restraints until his shoulders dislocated. And then he kept pulling. The joints simply rearranged themselves. I watched his arm bend backward. There was no screaming, no pain response. He just kept reaching. We've sedated him. Again. It doesn't appear to work anymore. I don't know what we're dealing with. I don't know if Subject 1 is hungry. I don't even know if hunger is the right word. The way he responds to blood, it's more primitive than that. It's instinct. And if I'm correct, one moment. The containment team says Subject 1 has stopped moving. They're going to enter. No. I've just been informed the inner door wasn't properly sealed. Subject 1 is still inside, but he's standing against it. He's hitting the door. Harder now. We need to exterminate the experiment. Audio log 004. The containment breach was prevented. Barely. Subject 1 remains secured. 3 guards were injured. No fatalities. Thank God. That's what I'm putting in the official report. Unofficially, I'm beginning to think we're already too late. Subject 1 has changed. His skin has become gray. There are dark patches forming around his neck and jaw. His fingernails have turned black. His eyes are cloudy enough that I don't believe he can see properly. and yet he continues to track movement. We ran another brain scan. The results were disturbing. Most of the frontal cortex is showing almost no activity. Memory centers are severely impaired. Language centers are almost completely inactive. But the portions of the brain responsible for movement, aggression, and basic sensory processing are functioning normally. Some areas are hyperactive. We believe the Echelon compound is selectively preserving primitive neurological functions. The higher functions are dying. I don't like that word, dying, because technically they're already dead. The tissue is simply being maintained. Subject 1 is no longer capable of speech. We've attempted communication several times, with no response. Yesterday, he looked at Dr. Patel when she entered the room. Today, he didn't. He just simply watched her move. We conducted a simple behavioral test. I placed a mannequin in the containment room. Subject 1 ignored it. Then I activated a recording of a human voice. He turned towards the speaker. When we played a heartbeat, he became agitated. When we played the sound of a human scream, he attacked the wall. There is no meaningful human response left. I think the serum succeeded in one respect. It preserved the body, but the person inside of it is disappearing. I've spent the last 17 years imagining what it would feel like to stand in front of someone who had died and tell them they had been given another chance. I never considered what it would mean to bring back the body without the person. He's making that sound again, dragging his fingernails across the glass. He's been doing it for 20 minutes. He doesn't seem aware that he's hurting himself, or perhaps he is. I don't know anymore. Audio log 005. Subject 1's heart stopped today at 14:06. No warning, no cardiac event. It just simply stopped. We confirmed it with 3 separate monitors. No pulse, no respiration, no measurable cardiac activity. He was dead. Well, dead again. We waited 20 minutes, then 30. At 14:41, he stood up. There was no heartbeat, no breathing, but he stood. He walked, he looked at us, and he was hungry. That was the moment I understood. The serum isn't preventing death. It's preventing death from being final. Those are not the same thing. We performed imaging afterwards. His organs are deteriorating. His liver is partially necrotic. His kidneys are failing. His lungs are damaged. His brain is showing extensive tissue death. And yet, his body continues moving. The Echelon compound is repairing damaged tissue, but it's doing so incorrectly. It's replacing dead cells with something else. Something that doesn't behave like human tissue. His skin has begun to separate around the hands. The tissue underneath is dark. There's almost no bleeding. There should be blood everywhere, but there isn't. His circulatory system is barely functioning. He doesn't need it anymore. I watched him fall down a flight of 3 steps earlier today. His neck broke completely. His head was at an angle that should have killed him instantly. Never guess what happened next. stood up. I've asked the board to authorize termination. They refused. They want more data. They want to know how long the process can continue. They're calling him the breakthrough. They're already discussing patents. I told them we've created a corpse that refuses to stay down. They told me to choose my language more carefully. I'm going to conduct one final observation. If Subject 1 can function without a heartbeat, without breathing, without a functioning brain, then we need to determine what actually controls him. Because whatever it isn't consciousness. He's looking at me again. The glass is between us. He's not moving. He's just staring. I don't think he knows who I am. I think he only knows that I'm alive. Audio log 006. This recording is being made from the security corridor. The laboratory is under lockdown. At 1:58, Subject 1 attacked a member of the containment team. Security officer Daniel Ross was bitten on the left forearm. The wound was approximately 4 centimeters long. He was treated immediately. There was no concern about infection. That was our first mistake. At 2:14, Ross developed a fever. At 2:19, he began vomiting. At 2:23, he became confused. At 2:27, his heart stopped. 4 minutes later, he stood up. The same way Subject 1 did. No pulse, no respiration, no response to verbal commands, just movement. Ross attacked Nurse Halpern. She didn't survive. Security attempted to restrain him, and they couldn't. We terminated him with a gunshot to the chest. It had almost no effect. The second shot broke his shoulder. He kept moving. The third struck the head. He stopped. That's the first thing we've discovered that works. Severe destruction of the brain appears to be the only reliable method of stopping them. I've instructed security to aim for the head. God help us. The infection rate is unclear. We don't know whether the serum itself is transmissible or whether the bite simply transferred the compound through saliva. We've isolated samples. Preliminary analysis indicates the Echelon compound is present in Ross's bloodstream. The compound is replicating. It isn't behaving like a virus. It's behaving more like a biological instruction. It's rewriting cells. Subject 1 isn't the only patient anymore. There are 4 confirmed cases. Maybe 5. We lost contact with the Eastern Laboratory 30 minutes ago. The security system says the Eastern Corridor is empty. That's impossible. I'm looking at the camera feed right now. There's someone standing at the end of the hallway. It's one of the technicians, I think. They're facing away from the camera, not moving. They're turning around now. It's Dr. Patel. She's dead. She died 2 hours ago. She's looking directly into the camera. We're evacuating sub-level 4. If anyone finds this recording, do not open the doors. Do not attempt to rescue anyone. They are not patients anymore. They're coming down the corridor. Audio log 007. I don't know how many people are left. We've lost sub-level 4. Sub-level 5 is gone. Communications with the surface have been intermittent for approximately 40 minutes. The emergency elevators are offline. The main access tunnel is locked. We're trapped underground. I've reviewed the original animal trials. I should have done this years ago. The results were there. We simply ignored them. Subjects experience increased aggression, loss of higher cognitive function, abnormal tissue regeneration, extreme appetite, and eventually, death. But the animals didn't stay dead. They came back. We terminated them. Then we tried again and again. Every time, the same result. The board called it an acceptable failure rate. I called it an incomplete formula. I was wrong. The formula was complete. The result was exactly what it was supposed to be. We just didn't want to admit what we had made. There are approximately 20 people trapped on this level. Security has barricaded the main stairwell. They're using the remaining ammunition sparingly. The infected don't behave like the undead in movies do. They don't wander aimlessly. They react to sound, movement, blood. They can climb, they can open doors. Some of them can still use simple objects. But there's nothing behind their eyes. No recognition, no hesitation, no fear. Just stimulus and response. Subject 1 is still alive. Or whatever we call this now. Security found him approximately 20 minutes ago. He was walking through the lower laboratory. They fired 7 rounds into him. He kept moving. Then he disappeared into the ventilation corridor. We should never have called this project Echelon. We should have never called it immortality. We should have called it what it actually was. A refusal to die. There's something outside. I can hear them. Not one, several. They're scratching at the door. They're not trying to break it. They're waiting. How do they know we're in here? Oh God. The lock. They're inside. Everyone move! Move! Audio log 008. If you're hearing this, then the facility has probably lost containment. I don't know if anyone on the surface knows what's happening. I don't know if anyone will. I'm recording this because there needs to be a record of what happened here. Not the sanitized version, not the report the company will release, the truth. Project Echelon was never ready for human testing. We knew that. The board knew that. I knew that. We did it anyway. We were afraid someone else would get there first. That's the truth. Another company, another government, another research group. We thought if we didn't create immortality, somebody else would. So we decided that being first was more important than being right. I'm currently inside the research archive. The door is reinforced. It should hold for a while. I've turned off all unnecessary systems. This building is almost completely dark. The emergency lights are still functioning. Every few minutes I can hear movement outside. Sometimes it's just one set of footsteps. Sometimes there are dozens. I saw Subject 1 about 10 minutes ago. He was standing at the end of the hallway. His skin is almost completely gray now. There are areas where the tissue has begun to decay. His left eye is damaged. His jaw is partially dislocated. And yet, he walks. He doesn't need to breathe. He doesn't need a heartbeat. He doesn't need food. He simply moves towards anything alive. I don't think he even knows what he's doing. That's the part I can't stop thinking about. He isn't evil. He isn't angry. He isn't hunting us because he hates us. He's just empty. They're here. The door is holding. For now. There's something I need to document. We've tested the infected several times. They respond to sound. But when they're close to a living person, their behavior changes. They become more coordinated, more aggressive. Almost as though proximity to healthy tissue triggers some kind of neurological response. The Echelon compound may be driving them toward a source of biological energy. If that's true, then every living person in this facility is essentially a beacon. I can hear them breathing. No, that's not breathing. They're making a clicking sound. Dear God. They're talking. Not words, just sounds. Clicks, groans, sometimes screaming. But there's no language. The door won't hold. I'm going to leave through the archive ventilation shaft. If I can reach the surface, there's one thing I need to say. I wanted to live forever. I wanted humanity to escape death. But immortality isn't the absence of death. It's the absence of an ending. And some things should be allowed to end. They're through. Audio log 009. I'm alive. I made it out of the archive. I'm approximately 300 meters from the surface elevator. The facility is still under lockdown. I don't know why. The surface should have received the emergency signal, unless the lockdown was activated from above. There are no security personnel here, no technicians, no response team, nothing. The access tunnel is completely empty. I'm walking towards the elevator. I've been thinking about Subject 1. I don't know his name anymore. I don't know if I ever did. Maybe that's fitting. Because he isn't the man who volunteered for this experiment. He's the consequence of it. The serum didn't make him immortal. It removed the biological conditions required for death. That's all. His body can decay without stopping. It can lose blood without stopping. It can lose organs without stopping. And eventually, there won't be much human tissue left. But as long as the parts of the brain responsible for movement remain intact, he'll keep going. The elevator's here. Wait. There's blood on the floor. Fresh. Someone is inside the elevator. I can see their shoes. They're standing with their back to me. Hello? Sir? Oh God. It's Daniel Ross, the security officer, the one we shot. His head was destroyed. How is he... No! Get off of me! Get away! His skull is... There's almost nothing left. He's still moving. He's still... He's down. I can't do this anymore. I thought we were going to save people. That's what I told myself. Every time someone asked, every time another animal died, every time another test failed, I told myself the suffering would mean something. that eventually we'd find the answer. And we did. That's the worst part. We found it. We found a way to make the body survive. We just forgot to make sure there was still a human being inside of it. Something's coming through the lower tunnel. I need to keep moving. The surface elevator is approximately 50 meters ahead. If anyone finds this recording, please don't come looking for us. Don't send rescue teams. Don't send scientists. Don't send soldiers. Burn the facility to the ground. And if the company tells you there was an accident, they're lying. It wasn't an accident. We knew what we were doing. We just thought we could control it. They're coming. Final audio log. This is Dr. Elias Mercer. 8:26 a.m. I've reached the surface security station. The facility entrance is sealed. The emergency transmission system is offline. There's no response from the outside. I've tried every communication channel. Nothing. I don't know if the signal is being blocked or if no one is listening. I found the facility's external surveillance feeds. The cameras are still working. There are people outside. Security officers, emergency personnel. They're standing near the main entrance. They're not responding to radio calls. They're just standing there. One of them is looking directly at the camera. Oh no. They're infected. The surface lockdown didn't happen because someone trapped us inside. It happened because the facility already knew what was coming out. The outer gate just opened. My God, there are dozens of them. They're moving towards the facility. They're moving towards the elevator shaft. They know where we are. I'm going to destroy the elevator controls. I've already initiated the facility's emergency incineration system. It will take approximately 6 minutes to reach maximum temperature. I don't know if that's enough. The security station door is locked. Something is hitting it. They're getting stronger. I can see Subject 1 on the camera. He's at the bottom of the elevator shaft. He's looking up. I don't know how he got there. He's climbing. He's climbing the shaft. I'm initiating the incineration system now. Come on, come on. System activated. 6 minutes. 5 minutes. 4. I need to say this before the recording ends. If this facility is found, if these recordings survive, do not attempt to recreate the Echelon compound. Do not study it. Do not improve it. Do not finish what we started. Destroy it. Because there is nothing waiting at the end of death that we need to bring back. 3 minutes. They're inside. I can hear them. Subject 1 is here. He's standing outside the door. I don't think he knows who I am. And somehow, that's worse. 2 minutes. If anyone hears this, my name is Dr. Elias Mercer. I was the lead researcher on Project Echelon. I was responsible for what happened here. And I am sorry. No! Get away from me! Stay back! The door's broken. They're coming in. Oh God. There's so many of them. Get away! Get...